CO Dylan Delorco Kraus and Mayor Pro Tem Dean Gearbaugh. In accordance with new protocols, Mr. Kamara Sulek is participating remotely. Councilmember Kamara Sulek, if you would please state your geographic location for the record.
Oprah Court, Saline, Michigan.
Very good. And from staff, I believe we have City Manager O'Toole participating remotely, along with City Clerk Royal and Assistant City Manager Community Development Director Green. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted unless there are amendments.
Moved as submitted.
Moved by CO to approve as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Gearbaugh. All those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. There are no absences this evening, so we'll proceed to citizen comments on agenda items under the Open Meetings Act. Any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Are there any citizen comments? The record will reflect there are none. Then we proceed to the one new business item of the evening, which is 21-201. This is tent ordinance. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the October 20th, 2021 memo from Assistant City Manager Green and to approve or not to approve ordinance number 832, an ordinance to impose temporary moratorium on the enforcement of portions of section 5.043 of the City of Saline zoning ordinance, Article 5, general provisions, and section 6.16 as applied to portable tent structures due to the detrimental effects of close contact in relation to the COVID-19 crisis.
Move to acknowledge.
Moved by Dillon to simply acknowledge. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kraus. Mr. Green, do you care to make a comment this evening?
Thank you, sir. As you guys know, we convened this meeting this week based on last week's discussion. The reason ordinance is required for this moratorium is because it affects enforcement. When there is enforcement in an ordinance, the only way we can stop enforcing it is via a new ordinance, even if it is temporary. So that's what we're discussing tonight. Including your packet is very similar ordinance to what you guys approved last year with just some minor edits to it based on language you guys discussed the last meeting. So I'm just here for any questions you guys may have.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Schofield, as one of the petitioners, you provided some detailed comments and background at our last meeting. Is there anything you'd care to add this evening?
Unless you have questions.
Very good. Well, hang tight because there might be questions that are best entertained by you. Are there questions from the dais for either the Assistant City Manager or for our petitioner? Ms. Dillon.
Thank you. I had made some comments to Mr. Green and Ms. O'Toole about the ordinance language. And so Mr. Green had done a red line to include that, which he's given me. So I want to make sure that everybody gets those. Mr. Sulek, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you were going to not be in chambers. We can definitely email it to you right now, I assume.
Yep, the clerk will scan a copy of the red line edition and get it to Mr. Kamara Sulek. Do you have anything further, Ms. Dillon?
I just, I can go through what I had, asked for changes if people want to. They were just more a little bit, just changing of the wording a little bit, make it a little bit more generalized.
Okay, well, let's provide council an opportunity to look over your red line, and in the interim, are there additional questions or comments from the dais? No, the record will reflect no, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Seal.
I just did have one question, Mr. Schofield. Mr. Schofield, I think in your, although this is not actually before us tonight, request for application for the tent permits is 20 by 40, but the drawings show a tent of 20 by 30. Is the tent 20 by 40 or 20 by 30?
Right.
It's 20 by 30. Or 20 by 40 is what we are requesting to be installed. The tent company only provided me a generic structural drawing of their 20 by 30 tent.
Okay.
So it's basically that, adding another 10-foot section.
Okay.
And Mr. Chief, if I may, he did submit that after the packets already went out, so I already have that drawing ready to go if you guys approve this ordinance, so I can start reviewing.
Okay.
He did submit that to match.
Thank you. That cleared that up. Only question I had. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Additional questions for staff or the applicant? Then we'll proceed to vote on the motion to simply acknowledge receipt of the October 20th, 2021 memo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. How about a motion now to approve or not to approve, or to approve as amended?
Move to approve.
Moved by Gearbaugh to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Seo. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Ms. Dillon.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions I just wanted to ask about this. This ordinance will relate only to restaurant and bars. So, and it traverses both private and public property, correct? Mr. Green?
When you do the moratorium on the tents, that just takes away the moratorium specifically, so it could affect anyone that requests a tent. Just the ordinance language reads the reasoning why we're looking at it as it pertains to restaurants and bars. Really, this does apply to private property. However, with sidewalk cafes, it could potentially lead to them being there as well, since we do have agreements with current individuals for that use of that area for the entire year.
Okay, so then this one ordinance covers private and public property as well as businesses outside of restaurants and bars.
The
Theoretically?
way I interpret it, yes.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I wanted to, during this period of time, if we were to get another business to inquire about a tent, I didn't know whether or not we were being too specific here in saying restaurants and bars.
In my opinion, no. At the end of the day, they have to submit an application and it has to meet all our requirements. So the biggest issue with everyone else is still has to meet zoning requirements. So it can't be taking away major parking spaces, can't be within setback areas, and all that fun stuff that the building department reviews before approving.
Okay. And then the only other question is that we're going with 120 days again. I know that's what we have done in the past. Mr. Schofield is basically asking for 90 days. So is there a reason that we should, go beyond that at this point? And, I mean, we do have the option to extend beyond what he wants.
Yeah, that's up to you guys. 120 last year was just kind of based on the timing of the year, I think. And then also like the recommendations from the attorney was don't go below 90 because then we're essentially just kind of piecemealing it together throughout the year,
Right.
as they would have to keep constantly coming back for extension requests. But yeah, you guys are more than willing to change that portion of the ordinance if you wish.
Thank you.
Mr. Gearbaugh, I believe you had a question?
No, more of a statement than just a question. I just want to say that I support this because of the fact that when you hear reports out in the news and the media, I know what everybody thinks about that, one of the fears is going inside to a restaurant to eat. It's one of the reasons why people are not necessarily going in there yet, so I think this is a good idea. But I also do like Ms. Dillon's comment about the time frame. I'm fine with moving this to 180 days because that would take us through the end of April, which would be probably the end of the coldest period of time.
Yeah, I would agree with that, if I may. 180 days seems more appropriate. I was watching an interview this past weekend with Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, and a large portion of the interview was focused on COVID-19 and attempts to mitigate the spread. And based on his analysis and the city of Detroit's analysis, they seem to believe that we're going to see an uptick probably in the winter of 2021, 2022, and then hopefully, as more people get vaccinated, we're on a good trajectory to return to normal or maybe a new normal in the spring. So I think providing more of an opportunity for people to eat outdoors in a safe environment is important, not only to keep folks safe, but also for the livelihood of our restaurateurs and their employees. So I would also be amenable to Mr. Gearbaugh's suggestion of amending the time frame to, was that 180 days?
Yeah, I will make a formal amendment, or request for amendment to 180 days.
We'll do this in a more informal manner if you're comfortable with this, Mr. Gearbaugh. Since you're the mover of the motion, do you want to just modify to 90 days to 180 days?
I can do that.
Okay, Mr. Seo is the second. Would you be amenable to that?
I certainly would.
Okay, then the motion is changed then without objection. So we're now considering a motion moved by Gearbaugh, seconded by Seo to approve the request, but modifying the number of days from 90 to 180. Is there additional discussion? I'm sorry, Mr. Khmer-Sulak.
Thank you. So in the section 1, are we concerned at all about any, do we need to change the additional 120 days for the moratorium? Or are we just going to leave that as it is because it's unlikely that it's going to go past the 180? Just want to make sure that.
Go ahead, Mr. Green.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Khmer-Sulak. In my opinion, no. I would say just keep the extension at 120 As Mr. Gearbaugh noted, 180 should get us through the cold season, then it's up to your guys' discretion. If you do 280 days, that's essentially a year, then we're just back here next year. So,
All right. I'm amenable to that.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kamara-Sulak. Mr. Seal?
If we stick with 120 days and Mr. Schofield acts promptly to put this tent up, I don't think he'll hit his January 30th date he's requesting in his permit request if we limit it to 120 days without an extension.
120 days from the effective date would actually get you to March 1st.
Okay.
Additional discussion, Ms. Dillon?
Thank you. I'm actually not comfortable with moving it that far ahead. That's why we are offered in the motion, that we can add extension of time. That's a huge committal on the city, especially considering we're looking at utilizing city property, public property, as well as private. If it were just on private property, I think it would be a different issue. I know that last year there were some issues with having tents on the street in the bad weather. They were blowing and such. And so I am a little concerned with doing that. And I would rather wait and see if we even have people that want to utilize this beyond Mr. Schofield at this point.
Any additional discussion on the motion? Appears to be none. Then we do have a motion on the floor moved by Gearboss, seconded by CO. And of course, the one modification is we adjusted the time frame to 180 days. Did you note that, Clerk Royal and Assistant City Manager Green? Very good. Then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries 6-1. Thank you very much. Is there any items to be discussed tonight?
I have something.
Yes, please.
So this is kind of a fun thing, but School Board President Jennifer Stebbin has challenged City Council to adopt a family through social services for Christmas. And so I took her up on all of it, on it, so we should get together and talk about that.
Very good.
And there's also other challenges out there that she's challenging some local businesses, so.
Very good. Just one announcement, we'll be able to elaborate on this next Monday, but we do have a water quality town hall scheduled for 8 a.m. on November the 5th. There will be a formal presentation, materials distributed, and it will be live streamed on Facebook and on Zoom. And for those who are unable to attend, it will be recorded and disseminated later that day on social media and on the web. If there's nothing else to be brought up under the discussion portion of tonight's agenda, we come to our second public comment period. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Are there any citizen comments? The record will reflect there are none. Then the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn this special City Council meeting at 6:13 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by CO. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. All those in favor of adjourning say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say
Aye.
nay. Ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Awesome. All right.